Yo guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, right, we'll be going through on the upcoming launches. And for the upcoming launches, there's a total of 5 of them. But consistently, throughout my buyer consultation and meet up with some of my clients, there's always been 3 of them that have consistently coming up and my clients asking me for my opinions between the 3. So the first one will be Skye at Holland, followed by Penrith and Zyon. So in today's video, I feel like I should cover some of the pros and cons for each project, so at least you know what to consider when you're buying into each particular development and what are the considerations that I will have already thought of for my clients. So stay tuned if you want to find out more. Okay, so right now we'll be going through the upcoming timeline for all the launches so that at least you guys know what's coming up in the proper order. And this is definitely one of the dilemmas that I already have encountered with some of my clients. Okay, so for 26th of September, this will be the first one. This is Skye at Holland's preview. So as you guys already know, the pricing is already out. It's quite attractive. Later I will touch on this a little bit more. Okay, let's focus back on the timeline first. So after Skye at Holland's preview on the 26th of September, we have 3rd of October, Faber Residence and Penrith's preview. So for this one, it's about staggered 1 week away. And then followed by 8th of October, we have Zyon Grand's preview. Okay, so Zyon Grand's preview, right, we are targeting on 8th of October, but I think CDL, they haven't gotten the approval yet. So there's a possibility that it also lands on 15th of October. So do take note on that, okay? And then followed by 11th of October, we have Skye at Holland's booking day. So you see the Skye at Holland's preview until the booking day, we have about 2 weeks plus minus, okay? And then 18th of October, we have Faber Residence and Penrith's booking day. So it's about 2 weeks or so from 3rd of October. And then last but not least, 25th of October, we have Zyon Grand's booking day as well. Now that we have a very clear illustration of the timeline of what's to come for the month of October, then the next thing is the dilemma. Because right now you can see, right, Skye at Holland, they already released the indicative pricing and it's about 2006 for a CCR product, definitely very attractive. So you can see, right, up to 11th of October, which is Skye at Holland's booking day, I am very sure Penrith and Zyon Grand's indicative pricing will also come out, okay? I think definitely UOL will have an advantage because they are gonna be the first project moving and they are a CCR project. Whereas for Penrith and Zyon Grand, they are considered RCR, okay? And followed by all the pricing, right? You need to really know between these 3 projects, because most of them, my clients, if they can afford Skye at Holland, they will be able to afford Penrith and also Zyon Grand. But it really depends on what is your preferences and what is your objective with each purchase. So that's why today's video, I'm going to be covering mainly on these 3 projects and the pros and cons that comes with each project. Then at least you guys know what you are potentially buying into for each particular project and whether you are a buyer for own stay, for investment, or even for rental yield. Yeah, at least you guys know what to expect. Alright, so now for the upcoming launches, we are going in terms of the launch order. Okay, so first up, we have Skye at Holland. So for those of you that's already familiar with the market, I'm quite sure you already know their pricing. So this is starting from 2598 PSF. So for the pricing, you can see the 2-bedders, 581 square feet starting from 1.51 million, 2598 PSF. 2-bedroom premium, 667 square feet to 678 square feet starting from 1.76 million at 2637 PSF. The 3-bedders, 915 square feet starting from 2.4 million at 2623 PSF. 4 bedrooms, 1238 square feet starting from 3.34 million at 2698 PSF. So definitely when I look at this pricing from UOL, right, this project is gonna be similar take-up rate to what we see at Rivergreen. At least this is within my expectations lah. Yeah, because I think UOL, they price it very attractively, especially for a CCR project. And if you guys are into the Holland Village lifestyle, I think this is a very attractive quantum lah. So here you can see I have the estimated break-even for the land price is about 2002 range. So using this calculation, right, later I will use this as a basis for Penrith and also Zyon Grand. So this works out to be a 2.2x multiplier and definitely quite okay lah. Yeah, and I expect the upper floors, right, maybe around the 35 floor to 40 floor, it should be in the 3100 PSF range. So this is based on my rough estimate. If you want more details, you can reach out to me lah. Okay, so now for those of you that's not familiar with where Skye at Holland is, I've put the site plan onto the map itself. Then you can see, right, actually the surrounding areas, other than the one Holland Village shopping mall, we are also very close towards Holland Village MRT and in the surrounding area, we are surrounded by some of the older HDBs, and on the opposite side, we also have the landed GCB side. So in terms of the views, definitely Skye at Holland is going to be one of the better projects already in this area. Okay, so now for some of the key project details for Skye at Holland. So the main thing here is that we have 2 blocks, and this is in the heart of District 10 CCR Holland Village area, and they are 40-story residential buildings with 2 basement and 2-story car park, as well as swimming pool, Skye terrace, and communal facilities. So number of units is 666, so this is considered a good size development. So expected TOP 2029. Site area is about 133,000 square feet, so it is one of the bigger ones already lah. And of course, reputable developers such as UOL will be involved in this project. Okay, so right now I'm gonna be doing a brief overview of Skye at Holland's site plan. So for Skye at Holland, right, you can see it's kind of an L shape. It's not a regular size plot. Whereas the facilities wise is good enough in this area. Of course, you don't have the tennis court for this particular development. And other than that, you can see because the top right hand corner, that block, right, is not enough space to put a building, so they decided to put the blocks to be facing each other lah. So of course, the cheaper stacks will be the ones like, for example, stack 1, 2 and 3, and then 12, 11 and 18. So this will be forming the lower PSF range, and you can see the setback is about 29 meters. Of course, the better views one will be towards the GCB side. So that's why you see stack 4 and stack 8, the bigger layout types, they're going to be putting towards that view side. Whereas for the other side, like stack 13, 14, 15 and 16, they are facing towards the HDB side, so you need to be mindful of the block's height. But other than that, generally this is still a decent sized development with sufficient facilities. Right now, let's touch on the pros for Skye at Holland. So first up is a big Holland Village plot, and also it's a high-rise development in that area. So that's number 1. Number 2 is also a CCR project at RCR prices, and thirdly, it has a very strong resale price support. So now let's dive deeper into the details. Okay, so right now let's take a look at the land size comparison, and I'm only taking projects within 500 meters towards Holland Village MRT, because I think you guys see in this entire list, right, Leiden Green is not inside, and Leiden Green is a much bigger plot lah. But if you guys are familiar with this area, right, for Leiden Green to go to Holland Village MRT is actually very far away. So over here you can see, other than one Holland Village residences with 200,000+ square feet of land and also up to 32nd floor, the next biggest one will be Skye at Holland already, coming in at 133,000 square feet of land and maximum floor of up to 40 stories. Okay, so in this area you also can see that one Holland Village residences, you must take note they have a service apartment component that also got the shopping mall lah. Yeah, so in terms of the actual facilities wise, I think Skye at Holland won't really lose towards one Holland Village residences, and it will actually stand out in this area in terms of the land size and also the being a high-rise development lah. Okay, so right now for the second part, we're going to be looking at the CCR at RCR prices for the last 6 months. Okay, so over here I also have all the new launches transaction, and then you can see for Union Square, right, the average transacted price is about 2.7 million, PSF is about 3,200 range, Mayor Blue 4.1 million average price transacted, and PSF is about 3,001. Amber House 2.7 million quantum and an average of about 3,000 PSF. So here, right, you can see, of course, these are a little bit more prime location in the RCR area, but I would say in terms of entry price at Skye at Holland, it does make sense because already people can accept, right, this kind of RCR projects at this pricing. So in terms of buffer and safe entry price in the new launch market, I would say Skye at Holland, definitely UOL has priced it very attractively. Okay, so last but not least, we're talking about the strong resale price support. So over here we have the Holland Village area last 6 months transactions, and then you can see from one Holland Village residences, Parvis, the Cornwall, the Fort at Holland. Look at their PSF, especially from one Holland Village residences, we have 2720 PSF, followed by 2650 PSF, and then 2002 PSF range. And these are pre-harmonization era properties, and also their TOP is a lot older, so you have to take into consideration because Skye at Holland is gonna TOP in 2029. So now we already discussed all the pros for Skye at Holland. Let's take a closer look, right, for Skye at Holland's cons also. So first up, right, one of the key things is that it's surrounded by a lot of boutique freehold condos. Secondly, it has very low resale volume. So even though there has high PSF transactions, but the volume indicates that there is not very high demand for this area. Lack of history in strong profits, and also no school within 1 km. So over here, I've curated the list, right, for all the projects nearby One Holland Village area lah. So you can see like majority of these projects, I won't name all of them, but you can see quite a lot of them are actually under freehold, with a few exceptions, like for example the Merah One Holland Village Residences, and also Skye Holland lah. Yeah, but in terms of whether it stands out in like the 99-year of freehold, of course you have to take into consideration for this one. Okay, so for the next part, I'll be covering on the resale volume transactions. So you can see in the last 6 months for this Holland Village area, One Holland Village Residences, it only recorded one resale transaction, and this is at a quantum of 2.17 million at 2007 PSF. So in terms of pricing and in terms of PSF, it is quite attractive, okay? But in terms of the volume, right, I would say it's quite worrying, especially if today you are a buyer, but you might want to exit in the short term of say maybe upon SSD or maybe 4-5 years. You have to take note, because it does seem like this area is not particularly like very hot lah. Then you can also see across the other projects in the last 6 months, and this is not just to a particular bedroom type, this is across the entire project. The transactions are averaging between 1 to 2 only within the last 6 months. So means probably you see this area, right, the buyers out of these 8 projects, we only have 8 buyers to maybe 15 buyers kind of range every 6 months. And now, right, for the profits in the last 6 months locked in this area, you can see the annual gain and loss, right, we are looking at an annual gain of about 3%, 2% range. I mean, of course, it's quite okay, it's still moving with inflation and hedging against the market, but it doesn't really outperform the entire market lah. But of course, if you enter Holland Village in the early days, you're gonna be locking in very huge quantum of profits. But I mean, if you can see from One Holland Village Residences, the profits isn't that amazing based on the outlay, and at the same time, the volume is not there to kind of substantiate that this is not a one-off transaction. Okay, last but not least is the 1 km within any good school. So this one, right, I mean, it's a bit of a pros and cons, because if it's within 1 km, right, it won't be selling at this price really lah. But if now, because it's not within 1 km, right, I mean, like, I think from my own client's perspective, for example, like my sis, she's married, she has a dog, and they are dual income, no kids, so also things lah. She goes to One Holland Village almost once a week. So for them, right, it's really like a lifestyle thing. So do they need the school? Not really. You really have to consider who are the target audience for Skye Holland. Then you can kind of see what is the exit strategy like lah. And I mean, of course, having a school will be important, but if there is a school within 1 km, it will be at this price range. So you must always consider what is the objective you're going for and who is your target audience. Yeah, and will the future trend of dual income, no kids become more common lah in 5 to 10 years down the mark? Then if you feel like this is the trend we are going towards, that people most likely won't have kids, then I would say this makes more sense. But if you're still on the fence where you feel people will still want to have kids and then you want to have good school, then you should be considering projects within 1 km. But if you are projecting what I've also considered a possible trend, then this is also a project that might make sense in terms of investment. Okay, so overall that was it for Skye Holland's pros and cons. Now let's move on to Penrith. Okay, so Penrith is the next one in terms of the timeline, and over here you can see this is the Margaret Drive land plot. So estimated break-even price is about 2026 PSF PPR, and then based on the same multiplier that we see for Skye Holland, starting price should be from 2003 PSF lah. But I don't think they're gonna give it at this very attractive PSF. So this one, kudos to Guapo Land, means they got the land really cheap. I project the likely PSF should be in the 2005, and then up to the higher floor should be around 3000 PSF to be kind of aligned with what we have at Skye Holland lah. And then you can see for this Queenstown area, we are kind of 4 to 5 minutes walk from Queenstown MRT station, and if you see the site plan, we are right beside Queenstown Primary School, and of course some of the other Queenstown Dawson HDBs, and nearby we also got the other HDB on the block 83 and 82 side. So if you're going towards that stack, you need to take note of the building height lah. But also if you're going onto the other side, you have to see this will be the more expensive view and site already. So that's why the developer also put the bigger layout types towards there lah. Yeah, other than that, this is the area itself. Okay, so now for some key project details. Over here you can see this is also a 40-story building and has 2 blocks. So very similar to what we see at Skye Holland. And total number of units 462. So this one you have a rooftop garden, basement car park, multi-story multi-storey car park, communal facilities, and the childcare center. So this one is in Queenstown area, a very mature estate. 99 years. TOP should be also April 2029. And then the site area is 102,000 square feet. So in terms of the ratio for the number of units versus the land size, I think the ratio is going to be very similar to what we see at Skye at Holland. And then over here you can see we have the site plan for Penrith. I already viewed the development at the show flat. Actually the concept really very nice. Guacoland really knows how to market their products, and I think definitely the finishings wise is going to be one of the better ones. This one is tile finishing, not vinyl flooring, okay? And over here you can see back to the site plan, even though the land size is smaller than Skye at Holland, right, because this is a regular shape, rectangular, they are still able to fit a very good size swimming pool and also facilities area, and we have a tennis court, okay? So this one definitely will be a slightly better product than what we see at Skye at Holland, because Skye at Holland, if you notice, they don't have as much facilities as what we see at Penrith, and at the same time they also don't have such a big block to block setback, because you can see for Skye at Holland is about 29 meters for the blocks facing towards the swimming pool. So of course for Penrith you're going to be having a much longer setback as compared to Skye at Holland. Okay, so right now let's dive deeper into the pros for a Penrith project. Okay, so first up, we have a very strong resale price support from the condos nearby in the Queenstown area. Second thing is history of strong profits also in this estate. Third, we are also surrounded by multiple million-dollar HDBs, and some of them are even the record-breaking ones. I think there was one that was 1.7 million range for some of the Queenstown HDB. Okay, so first up, we have the resale price support. I'll be taking the transactions in the last 6 months. So you can see over here, we have a couple Sterling Residences, Commonwealth Towers, Margaret View, Queen's Peak, and all these you can see they are pre-harmonization. And you can see for Sterling Residences, we are clocking in an average PSF of 2,440, and these are all older projects as well. So you must take note, you must adjust not just for harmonization but also for when they TOP. And also closely, we have Commonwealth Towers at 2230 PSF average, Margaret View 2210 PSF average, and Queen's Peak also at 2002 PSF range. So now that we have all the resale prices here, right, for example, if Guacoland chooses to launch Penrith at about 2005 or even 2006 PSF range, right, I think in terms of price support, we have a very strong and robust transacted prices, especially in the Queenstown area. So that's why I think for Penrith, it really depends on how aggressive Guacoland really want to launch, because I think even at 2006, it still seems as a very strong and safe entry price. Okay, so now let's take a look right at the profits in the last 6 months in the Queenstown area for the resale projects. Okay, so you can see here, leading off, we have Sterling Residences. Average per year gain, we are looking at about $75,000, and this is averaging at about 5% plus. So you look across the entire range for this Queenstown area, right, the range is slightly higher than what we see at the Holland Village area, between 3% to 8%. Yeah, also these are all the moving average here, and you can see the higher profits per year as compared to Holland Village area. And you look at the number of transactions across all these projects, right, this is a very good representation of the volume here, and it shows that there's very strong demand even though some of the projects are not brand new and newly TOP. So next component where all the hot money comes from will be the $1 million HDB estate. So you can see in just these couple of months, we have a total of 80 transactions, and this is just in the last 6 months. Average price transacted in the Queenstown area, we are looking at is 944,000. Okay, you saw that right, average is 944k, and you can see based on the price chart, the range is between 900 to almost 1.1 million, and this is representing a very strong HDB upgrader pool. So you might ask me, why is HDB upgraders important, and especially $1 million HDBs in Queenstown? Okay, so over here I have example for Sterling Residences. Okay, so Sterling Residences, this is in one of the resale in Queenstown area, TOP 2022. And then you can see, right, I want you to take a closer look on the residential analysis. So you can see we have 76% Singaporeans, 19% PR, and 4% foreigners. And the key component for this analysis is that you can see 47 of the purchases actually came from HDB previously. So this is what I'm talking about. in terms of the hot money, right, you have a significant portion coming in from the HDB side. So you really have to be mindful of who is your exit audience. Yeah, and in this case, if we are looking at a significant portion for HDB upgraders, then you need to know what are all these buyers looking out for. Are they looking out for higher floor units? They want 3-bedroom with the utility and yard, or they want like 5-bedroom with no west sun, you know. So all these factors, you need to already think about it as if you are selling to them already in today's resale market. Yeah, so all this will definitely form a very good gauge to how to approach the buying strategy. And for those of you that want to find out more information about Penrith and how I do the analysis in depth, you can check out my previous video that I've done for this Penrith project comparing to the resale nearby. So just now we already have discussed on the pros for Penrith project, and now let's take a closer look right on the cons for this particular development. So first up, we're going to be having strong competitors in the resale market. Second thing is, it is the second smallest plot in Queenstown, and third, we don't have top schools within 1 km of Queenstown area. So starting off, we're going to be talking about the strong resale competitors in the market. So here we have Queen's Peak, Commonwealth Towers, Sterling Residences, Margaret View, and Alexis. So for all these projects, right, I think some of the mega ones like such as Sterling, Commonwealth Towers, they are all very decent sized projects with very good facilities, and also the layouts generally are quite decent. So in the resale market next time when Penrith TOP buyers definitely will be spoiled for choice one. So this one is something that you need to take into account. You cannot assume that, you know, automatically Penrith is going to be much better than Sterling and Commonwealth Towers. And the second component I'll be looking at is the land size comparison. So you can see, right, just now like I mentioned, amongst these projects in the Queenstown area, Penrith is the second smallest already, because we're looking at about 102,000 square feet of land, whereas the rest they are going to be on much bigger land, and that means you look at Sterling is even bigger. But I cannot discount the fact that for Penrith, if you look at the density of the development, it is definitely a much better ratio as compared to, let's say, Queen's Peak, because Queen's Peak, the number of units, right, is almost double of what we see at Penrith, but you don't have double the land size. Okay, so I think in terms of density of the development, it's going to be much better at Penrith as compared to Queen's Peak and even Commonwealth Towers. Okay, so now for those of you that is interested in Penrith, let me show you an example, right, for how I prepare my clients that's looking out at Penrith. And over here you can see I've already done the Excel, so we'll be looking at mainly comparisons with Queen's Peak, Commonwealth Towers, Queens, and Margaret View Sterling Residence. And over here you can see I have the TOP dates, land size, and then the total number of units. So all this can give you a glimpse of like the density of the development and what kind of land size we are working with. And then for this particular client, he was looking at the 3-bedders, so I'll be doing the 3-bedder supply ratio and also versus the demand and supply over here, because we need to see how many 3-bedrooms has been transacted in the past 1 year and what is the ratio and the demand and supply and how many listings are there in the market. And on top of that, I have already compiled, right, all the past 1 year transactions for all the Queenstown projects over here, and we have the price matrix and we have the price range here. And this also can give us a price gap with all the Queenstown resale condos over here, customized to each bedroom type, because I feel like if you don't go into each particular bedroom type, it's gonna be quite skewed for the data. So for me, I'm just looking purely at the 3 bedrooms for this particular client. Okay, and I also have compiled all the layouts for the resale projects side by side. So really you can see if you buy into this particular compact 3-bedder or the bigger 3-bedder at Penrith, will it really stand out in the resale market? Because this is a Guakulan project up to 40th floor. Once I have the starting from prices, I'll be able to project, right, for each layout type all the way up to the 40th floor. So at least for my clients, you have a better gauge of what to go into and what is the cut-off price, because those are very important. And I've seen many times some of the other buyers that are looking at new launches, they actually fall into the FOMO effect. So for those of you that already looking at Penrith and are quite interested and you want this kind of personalized consultation and analysis for yourself, you can reach out to me at 8484-9302. I'll be available for these projects, and also Skye, Holland, and Zyon Grand. So you can feel free to WhatsApp me. I'll be there at the show flats. Looking forward to hear from you guys. Okay, so now that we already covered for Penrith pros and cons, you can start to see, right, the differences between Skye and Holland and also Penrith, and what kind of buyers and exit strategy you should have for each particular project. So now let's move on to Zyon Grand and let's take a closer look right on the land bid price. So for Zyon Grand, the estimated break even is at 2091 PSF. So using the same multiplier of 2.20x, we're looking at about 2004 PSF. But we all know that this is because of the service apartment component that they cannot sell. So very likely CDL won't be pricing at this range lah. I estimate the likely PSF should be in the 2006 to 3002 range. So we're gonna be taking reference very closely towards Promenade Peak side. Okay, so now for the area itself, right, you can see Zyon Grand, we are right beside Promenade Peak. You can see I put both the side plans together, and we are surrounded by a couple of high-rise buildings like Tribeca, Mirage Tower, Grand Coptham Waterfront Hotel, and some of the older HDB blocks. So do be mindful of those facings that you can see, like for example stack 3 and 4 for block 3 for Zyon Grand, they are going to be having blocked views because they are facing towards Promenade Peak side. So you need to take into account all this, and I mean, unless you can accept this view, then I think it's still okay, because very likely they're going to be pricing this a lot cheaper as compared to those that is the fully unblocked view facing towards the Singapore River that side. Okay, so right now let's discuss some of Zyon Grand's project details. And you can see we have 2 blocks of 62 stories, so this is going to be much higher than Penrith and Skye Holland, and also 1 story of service apartment at 36 stories. So definitely in terms of privacy, you're not going to be exclusive as compared to Skye Holland and also Penrith. But also Penrith, you do have the childcare component lah, so it's really not going to be too far off, okay? Yeah, and on top of that, for Zyon Grand, we have restaurants, supermarket, and then the childcare center. So total number of units is 706. Leasehold 99 years from 1 bedrooms all the way to 5 bedrooms. Now looking at the site plan for Zyon Grand, you can see the block to block distance, the nearest one is about 32 meters, and they are not facing each other, like similar to what we see at Skye Holland. So in terms of views, right, I think definitely Zyon Grand is going to be a lot better as what we see at Skye Holland for those lower PSF units. Of course, the higher PSF one, I think Zyon Grand is not going to be cheap, because in the end they are still going to be in such a prime location, and the setback towards the other developments is much further away, other than stack 3 and 4 that's facing towards Promenade Peak side. And you can see in terms of the site plan, right, I really think it's going to be very grand, because facilities wise is very sufficient. You got tennis court, you got multiple water features and a lap pool, and also in the middle you still got this like very grand entrance decor site plan kind of thing lah. Okay, so right now let's discuss more about the pros for Zyon Grand. And then first up, we have a very strong price support in this area itself. Second thing is we have Havelock MRT, childcare center, and supermarket. So this is very close to an integrated development really, and it's very convenient in terms of location and amenities. Third thing is within 1 km to River Valley Primary School. Last but not least, it is the largest land plot amongst the 5 nearby GLS. Okay, so right now let's take a look at the price support for the last 6 months. So you can see for the higher PSF, we have Riviera, and other than Promenade Peak, actually all the other transactions here you can see they are in the 2008-2009 PSF range. Maybe some of them a bit older, 2005-2004, but overall the PSF is quite healthy here, and they are the pre-harmonization project, and you must also adjust for how old they are lah. Other than that, for Promenade Peak, we are looking at about average PSF of $2,900 per square feet, and you can see the average quantum transacted at Promenade Peak is 2.6 million. And in this area, even at Riviera, you can see the average price is already at 3.6 million. So if CDL actually price Zyon Grand attractively in terms of PSF and quantum, right, I won't be surprised if the take-up rate is going to be as strong as River Green as well. So this, at least I see very strong price performance here in the Zyon Grand area. But do take note, once we reach the higher PSF range, you have to make sure that it is on the higher floor lah. Yeah, for example, if it's a lower floor but much better view, right, then I might be a little bit more cautious on that, because in the end, I would say usually higher floor then can command a better PSF lah, not 100% on the view side. So next up is all the entrances towards the MRT, childcare center, and supermarket. So you can see CDL, they have done a very good job on this, because I think they are worried that some of the residents, maybe they feel like they don't have privacy because of all this service apartment component and all the other amenities in this development. So they already segregated, right? For block 3 and block 5, which is the two blocks for residential use, they are going to be segregated away from the restaurants, the F&B, supermarket, MRT station exit, and also the childcare center. And this will be part of the service apartment side also. So at least there is some level of privacy and the residents don't feel like you have a lot of people entering the development at any point of time. So for the third component, I don't think this one needs much introduction. This is the River Valley Primary School. So for most of the families looking to stay in this River Valley area, definitely this one will be the top choice in this area. Okay, so last but not least, you can see over here I have all the 5 GLS River Valley Green Parcel A to C, and then Zyon Road Parcel A to B. So out of these 5 plots, right, I mean, if you want a closer detail, you can take a look at my previous video where I discussed about Promenade Peak versus Riviera. But just go back to this slide, right? You can see if you just eyeball only Zyon Road Parcel A, right, definitely is going to be very impressive in terms of land size. The other plots, right, like you see the River Valley Green side, their plots actually is a bit more odd shape and it's very long, very triangle shape. So overall, I think in terms of facilities, it won't be as complete as what we see at Zyon Grand. I think this is something that you would need to take note, and I feel at least I see Zyon Grand, right, it kind of has similar traits to what we see at Martin Modern. As compared to the other plots, right, it doesn't so cram and small. Whereas you see like I say Promenade Peak, actually overall Promenade Peak already feels okay because it is a regular land size plot, but I feel like it will pale in comparison when we look at Zyon Grand itself. So now that we have already discussed on the pros for Zyon Grand, let's take a closer look on the cons for this project itself. So first up we have is the oversupply in the short term and also upon TOP. Secondly, there is a lack of history, right, in terms of strong profit margins for this area. And third component is the service apartments. So like I mentioned just now, right, if you are looking to flip upon TOP, this might not be the project for you, especially in the next 4 to 5 years, because the buyers, there's going to be a lot of choices available. No doubt Zyon Grand is going to be quite a statement piece on its own, but at the same time, buyers are going to be very savvy and they have 4 other projects to compare to. So today, if you are my client and you're looking at Zyon Grand itself, I'll recommend a longer holding period, and also at the same time, this area has very strong rental yield, so it will be looking at a different strategy rather than looking at flipping itself. So next up we have is the profit margins for the last 6 months. So you can see out of all these projects, right, their range is between 2% to some of them even 7%. I would say their 7% is more of an anomaly lah. Yeah, but if you take everything average out, right, we're looking at quite average profits per year in terms of percentage. And do bear in mind that this is a high quantum purchase. So if you think in terms of ROI, right, potentially some of the upcoming launch can provide a better value instead of Zyon Grand. So last but not least is the service apartment component. So no doubt the land size is the biggest one for Zyon Grand out of all these 5 plots, but they have 3 blocks and one of the blocks is actually catered towards a service apartment component. So I mean, if they didn't have this component, I'm quite sure the facilities would have been a lot more grand. But at the same time, especially for those of you that's buying for 1 and 2 beders, looking to rent out for the high rental yield, this could be forming your potential competitors, because the service apartments can range from 3 months to 6 months, and for all these tenants, they could be taking away some of the tenant pool, especially for the 1 and 2 beders. Okay, so right now we've already covered all the pros and cons for Skye at Holland, Penrith and Zyon Grand. Let's take a closer look, right, on the demand supply for each area, and after that we'll be summarizing the whole thing. Okay, so first up we have is Queenstown. We look at the demand and supply within 500 meters from the MRT itself. Okay, so these are the transactions within the past 1 year. So you can see and these are all resale projects. Okay, so 6 projects actually netted 248 past transactions. So this is across all bedroom types. And then for the listings available, we have 283 listings. So in terms of ratio here, quite close to 1 to 1 because I would say the resale listings, some of them could be duplicates as well, but we are looking at very healthy demand supply numbers for Queenstown. So next up we have the Holland Village area. So similar thing, 500 meters from the MRT, past 1 year transactions in the resale market. So here we have more projects because I think a lot more booking. 12 projects with 31 past transactions. And then in the listing side for supply, we have 17 resale projects with up to 105 listings. So you really can see a disparity in terms of demand and supply, even though there could be some duplicates for the listings. If we just take a ratio, rough ratio, right, it's between 1:2 or even 1:3 ratio. Yeah, so overall, in terms of Queenstown versus Skye Holland's area, it is almost double in terms of the demand supply ratio. Okay, so last but not least, we have the Havelock area, which is Zyon Grand's area. So you can see also similar thing within 500 meters of Havelock MRT, same criteria. We have 94 past transactions in this area, and we have up to 204 resale listings. So in terms of ratio, right, I would say Zyon Grand's one is slightly better in terms of the listings available lah. But if you look at the total number of projects and transactions, when you compare to Holland Village area, right, actually you are competing with a lot more listings even though your ratio is slightly better. So I mean, if you were to ask me, I think Skye Holland's one makes more sense because there isn't really much competitors there, not as much as Zyon Grand's area lah. And on top of that, this is the current supply at 2025. We have the ratio 1:2. Can you imagine in 2029 or 2030 with all these 5 GLS reaching the resale market, what will happen to the supply then? So these are all the things that you need to consider, especially if you are looking to exit in the short term. So just to summarize everything, we've concluded in terms of pros and cons for each development and also the demand and supply. This is my rankings, right, amongst these three for more for investment purpose lah, not really for own stay. Okay, number 1 we have Penrith, number 2 Skye Holland, and number 3 we have Zyon Grand. So this is my rankings in terms of investment wise lah, okay, not really for own stay wise. Yeah, you can let me know in the comment section, do you agree with my assessment, or do you think actually Zyon Grand, Skye Holland would be a better buy than Penrith itself? Okay, so last but not least, this is the timeline again. If you guys are looking out for any of the launches, do feel free to reach out to me at 84849302 because I'll be involved in all of them. And at the same time, if you found my video useful and added value to you, you can feel free to leave a like and subscribe. And if you'd like to find out more about all these in-depth analysis that I've done, you can also check out my YouTube channel because I'll be covering on all these recent launches in depth, comparing with the resale nearby. Alright, looking forward to hear from you guys. Bye.